Hello folks, I hope you are having just an absolutely magnificent day today. Today I wanted to take a quick look at my thoughts on the Batman and Robin's movie serial from 1949. It's a part of the day that I like to dedicate to it on Saturday, called Serial Saturday for you folks. This is an older movie serial. The serials are sort of a forgotten method of telling stories that were forgotten. They brought people into movies and such, and this was shown back then as a way to grab people and keep them coming back to theaters, small and big. This is a sequel to 1943's The Batman. It's in 15 parts. I hadn't seen either of these until just now for this channel and this review for you folks. So let's go ahead and get started with this. So it's also 15 parts too. I knocked it out last Saturday for you folks in just one day. It's about 255 minutes long, a little less. So I'm sorry, 65 minutes. So if you wanted to knock it out in either one installments at a time, you could totally do that, or you could also just do it, in a few sittings or just in one day, like I did, and sort of binge it, right, and so forth. It's fine. It's not a problem at all. And this is a forgotten sort of method of storytelling, right, that we've lost, but it's still out there for folks, and I'll link it to you on YouTube if you want to read it. I'll link it to you, which is also where I saw this for the first time for you folks. Now, since it is a sequel, it does add some real life characters that are missing from the previous one, like Vicky Vale and Commissioner Jim Jordan, who's a reporter, and Jim Jordan, who's the leader of the police. They were not in the previous one for you folks. Now, there are some changes from the previous one. It's supposed to be a sequel. But you can see a lot of the background has been changed, but they don't explain it in the text. And there's also a brand new cast. None of the cast are returned. For folks, it's been 6 years, so you probably would have forgotten it. And back then it was not uncommon to change your lead actors from one serial or series to another. It's not common. But if you're watching it back to back like I did, it can be a little jarring from one week to the next, seeing a real brand new cast, brand new concepts to these sorts of things, right? And then also seeing them as that and such, which would have been less common back then, 6 years apart. But it's pretty common then, but it's pretty rare today. You just cast one lead or a character for that actor, and then you just keep it, right, and so forth. But it's good. So it stars as the new characters. As Batman is Robert Lowry, starring as Robin is Johnny Duncan, and as new love interest, Vicky Vale, she is Jane Adams, and also starring as Commissioner Gordon is Lyle Talbot for you folks. And then this has some big budget issues. The previous one had some budget issues, but this one has even more budget issues. For example, the previous one didn't have a Batmobile, but it did replace it with a limo scene, which makes sense for a rich guy. And he was driven around by Alfred. Well, that guy is gone. Right, and that vehicle is gone. It's just a car. It just looks like any other car, right? And so forth. And when you compare it to the Green Hornet, which does have its own vehicle, which came back a few years earlier in 1940, to the first one in 1943, then this one's in 1949, you can tell it on the scene. Also, the bat belts, those sorts of things are gone, and you can really tell in the sets and that sort of a thing. Unfortunately, they have really cut the budget, even when the first one was already cut a lot for you folks. And then, as a reminder, this was the first one was still bad on the budget and got cut from this. This is much worse. So, just like the previous one, because it's filmed in California, you get a very California take on Gotham City, which doesn't feel particularly Gotham. It was more of an East Coast city, more comparison to, say, New York City, right? All right. So basically, what's happening here? You got palm trees. You got big giant chasms. Even the sea that's seen as a submarine to come up on the first in the first episode that you'll see, that totally is a West Coast vibe. It does not look like the Gotham that we all sort of know and love from other things, if you will, or like more of a Chicago or an East Coast thing. It's a West Coast, California, Gotham City, even though it's not intended to be. And so forth. All right, and then let's take a look. So it has, like I said, the name of the costume for the big bad is the Wizard, and it'll look very similar to the one from the Fantastic Four. So I kept wanting him to be the character. I was going to be the wizard. It's going to be funny stuff. All right, so anyway, so for the reasons, again, the budget being cut, they have changed things without changing without descriptions. For example, they changed the love interest to Vicky Vale. The previous one was engaged and a fiance to Bruce Wayne, but they don't say what happened to that relationship. It's just replaced with Vicky Vale, right? The reporter, and so forth. And then a lot of changes in the sets, changes in the settings, changes in the money, and then changes in the cast. It doesn't feel strong. The previous one I gave a 7.5 to. This one I'm just going to be giving a 6 to for you folks shows for reasons. There you are. Sorry, Batman fans, if you like this. This is definitely more of a 6 out of 10 for you folks compared to other serials. As a reminder, all my serial reviews are compared to other serials, right? So I talked earlier about how impactful serials and stuff were back then on stuff, and on movies today with things like Star Wars or Indiana Jones that are heavily influential on modern stuff, right? So the idea here is that you would go to a movie and you would go see one, and at the same time, everybody in your family, everybody in your community, in smaller communities, we're all in suburbs, and then everybody like in your local city and so forth, we go. And you would all sit there on this, like a Saturday, right like this, so it's fun. And then you would all go there for a few hours, not just to see one movie, and then go home and talk about it, but you would see several things all at once. You would go see some early previews, and the previews wouldn't necessarily be trailers like they are today. But there would be some spoiler. There would be some here and there, but not nearly as many. Then you would see some cartoons, shorter cartoons, for just a couple minutes, or three or 4 minutes long. You would also go see some newsreels, pretty commonly shown too, pre-movies, and then the A movie would be shown. That's the key one. And then you would see the first serial head to a larger break for intermission. Come back after intermission with a couple more shorts. The B movie, which is often just an hour long, and then maybe another couple of shorts, and then finish with the serial. And then the serials were what kept me coming back from an intermission, and then to the next week because of how they were. This is all right. And so my passion for this lost art is a key part of this channel, right? So you want to tap into that and come back to other serials. Why not hit the subscribe button? Because there's going to be a lot more movies coming, and the like button too if you like this. And then also hit the bell icon if you're feeling frisky to be notified of my videos. I do a bunch of throwback videos like this. I do a bunch of videos that I review things like science fiction, fantasy, and horror pretty commonly too. And then finally, if you'll, and then just let your friends know to watch this. Whether they're Batman fans or movie serial fans or just superhero fans, right? Whatever they're fans, I'd let them know. That's really appreciated. And then, as a reminder, this channel's name, like I said before, is about the worst thing about new books. It's a quote by a French philosopher, Jacques Joubert, who said that the worst thing about them was that they kept us from reading the old ones. Right? This is definitely an older classic for you folks. And in this case, you're not reading it, but yeah, it's definitely influential stuff. And then you're watching. But it's heavily influential on the stuff that we're reading too. And then like comics and stuff too. And then finally, I want to thank you so much, for taking some time out of your day and investing and watching my video, right? Because we all have so many things that are happening in our lives, and we're pulled in so many different directions. So the fact that you spend this time with me, that's incredibly humbling, and thus I appreciate it so much. So thanks again, and have an amazing day.